We've come to the end of a truly historic NATO summit here in Madrid. My name is Richard Josiak and I'm the Europe editor for Radio Free Europe, and I will give you my 4 main takeaways of what happened here in the Spanish capital. The main event was that Sweden and Finland were invited to join NATO. Now the question is, when is this going to happen? The accession protocol will probably be signed already next week in Brussels by EU ambassadors, and then we'll have a ratification process that normally takes a year. But I believe that this is going to be much shorter. Many parliaments have already said that they will try to make that as fast as possible. I wouldn't be surprised to see Finland and Sweden join the alliance as member number 31 and 32 by early autumn. However, this took a bit of time. There were negotiations going on for about 4 hours here in this building at the very start of the summit between the Turkish president and the leaders of Sweden and Finland. And in the end, they had to agree on not to have an arms embargo on Turkey anymore. But of course, one of the more sensitive topics here as well is that Sweden and Finland have agreed to facilitate extradition of people of Kurdish origin to Turkey. That can be something that is very sensitive going forward, especially with the Swedish general election looming in September. Now, another big topic was obviously the strengthening of the eastern flank of NATO. We will see that the battalions that NATO currently have in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania and Poland will turn into brigades. So it means that there will be several thousand more troops being there. Another thing that is new for NATO is the pre-assignment of troops. Essentially what that means is that troops will be trained in their home nations, but they will be designated to go to a specific country. So for example, Germany will have a brigade in Germany that will train in Germany, but they will already have pre-positioned equipment in Lithuania and then be able to go to Lithuania as quickly as possible. This is a sort of new thing that NATO will try to experiment. Another thing NATO will do is to increase substantially the number of forces it's ready to send to different parts of the alliance. Right now that number is 40,000. By next year that will be 300,000. Ukraine was another topic at this summit, and Mr. Zelensky, of course, addressed the leaders. Now, Ukraine is not getting any closer to NATO at this summit, but what did happen was that NATO did commit to support Ukraine further, especially with non-lethal stuff. A package of nearly 400 million euros have been committed in terms of non-lethal aids to Ukraine. So that was first aid kits, its drones, its body armor, etc. And finally, NATO also adopted a new strategic concept for the first time in over a decade. Now, this is a sort of blueprint where NATO sort of sketches out where it wants to be in the future. In it, they state very clearly that Russia poses the most direct threat to the alliance. That's a big difference from the last strategic concept from 2010, when it called Russia a partner. For the first time, it also mentions China, stating that NATO sees Beijing as a player challenging its security, interests and values.